I actually think that acting needs to put you in an uncomfortable state. That's part of it. You know, I could also say, Andrea Martin's a good friend of mine, and we're always saying, we just like to get the job. We don't actually want to do it. The highlight is, you got it. Now you have to do it. So I fight it tooth and nail. But would I have it any other way? Probably not.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Sheila McCarthy is an actor. In October, her new film, Women Talking, played at the New York Film Festival, which brought her to New York City, which is where I sat down with her to talk about the work.
Is there a typical way you like to begin your preparation process? Like when you get a new character, is there a typical first step that you take to kind of wrap your arms around?
I just walk around with the script a lot and sleep with it. And
hopefully osmosis or whatever.
Yeah, I walk around with it going, this is never going to happen. This is never, it's almost the 5 stages of grief. It's denial. Seriously, with my scripts, because I go, it's not. This one was like, what?
Yeah.
This was theater.
Yeah.
So that was, that. There's that.
Yeah.
And then finally, I just somehow magically, with a little bit of pressure and deadline, and I'm running out of time, I start the work.
Yeah.
But it's the avoidance of starting, the
It's
procrastination.
Like 5 stages, right? Denial.
Yes. Then I just go, and then the panic sets in, and then I have to.
Yeah.
But I love to I love to talk to the costume designer. I love getting together with them almost immediately, because, they're dressing my person, me.
Yeah.
And I love to spend time with them.
Yeah.
Because I'm that kind of I was a dancer for many, many years. So for me, the physical has always been really important. Mm-hmm. And that includes the shoes, the look, the makeup, the hair. I love that, the idea of that.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking of those glasses in Women Talking.
Yeah.
It preceded you a little bit, meaning I kind of size you up a little bit, even before you start talking.
Yeah.
I
thought those glasses would be a problem.
Oh, yeah?
Because I've, been in so many things where reflection, then the DP, he just dispelled, he said, don't even worry about that. That's not your problem.
Yeah.
Just wear the glasses. And the glasses are hugely important, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in one moment.
Yeah. And there was a certain aging up too by wearing glasses it was part of the costume that I kind of loved. Because Sarah Polley kept saying to me, you're kind of too sprightly for Greta. You need to sort of, should I see her as older? And I said, well, the glasses will help.
Yeah. And you really did that. Whatever she was worried about, I don't see in there.
I actually love the look.
Yes.
I love wearing no makeup. I love.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. I looked like an old bird when I was 6, so I've always played those parts, and I don't mind.
Yeah. What is it? You mentioned dancing. Is there a certain discipline that required that you hauled over into this work?
Oh, for sure. I was a professional dancer for 15 years, and it gives you that discipline, which is really great in terms of work. And then it can also be a deterrent in terms of doing things differently. So because I did my pliés every day the same way. I did my and shows, and so my challenge now as an actor is not doing the pliés the same way every time, and getting that right, and being open to. I love working with actors who change it up all the time, who perhaps have never done theater, and so their relationship with the camera and their cinematic experience is different every single time. And I love that when people mess. I don't. being a professional dancer means that I wasn't messy. And so it's good for me to work with messy actors, do you
Right.
know?
It almost pushes you toward that if they're doing that, right?
Like Jessie Buckley, working with her in the movie, she's just a cinematic creature.
Yeah.
And I just glommed onto her because every take was different, and it altered my perception of Greta, and it was great. It was a great learning curve.
There was something that Sarah Polley said in the press conference about noticing you two looking at each other.
Yeah.
So, and realizing that there was an unspoken thing. You play her mom.
Yes.
There was an unspoken kind of thing between the characters that were being worked out, kind of. Is this something that you and Jessie went aside and started like building something?
Not at all. I think it started, there was one day when I had a really difficult scene of, an actor reads in a script, says the line and bursts into tears, which is just, oh God, here we come, it's the day, this is the big day. And there was something about working with Jessie Buckley on that day, and I just improvised with her when that moment was coming. And I don't know why that happened. I just took her hand and it surprised her. And there was something about holding her hand that made me cry. And and then we were doing take after take after take. We were doing like literally 120 takes.
Wow.
Because, the camera had to move around the 9 of us. And so it was, we had long runs. Like we were shooting scenes for 2 or 3 days at a time. Wow. But that worked every time. And that kind of, I don't know, it's hard to talk about those moments, but it just unleashed something and opened, and it freed me. And it took her by surprise, and
So let's go back for a second. Did you know what this was going to be when you, how did you first hear about this? Was it an audition?
So about a year and a half ago, I heard about the movie. I've known Sarah Polley because we're both from Toronto for many years. And my agent called and said, Sarah wants to Zoom with you. There's a part in a movie that she's directing called Women Talking. And I'd read the book. And so we Zoomed, and Sarah, it was just Sarah and I. And the Zoom lasted for about 2 hours. And she was so apologetic. She said, I'm so sorry, but this is plan B. And, Brad Pitt has to approve you. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'm cool with Brad Pitt having to approve me. And Dee Dee Gardner, the angel warrior of this piece, and Frances McDormand. I went, no, that's fine. And you have to know that I was coming out of COVID where, we didn't work that much. And I'd actually been thinking, well, maybe I'm kind of done. There was a kind of lack of pressure during COVID that I didn't mind.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the morning and think, I don't have to worry about anything today. I think we all felt that,
I don't have that script next to my pillow
I was
haunting me.
And I didn't mind that lack of pressure. I wasn't bored by it because I have a million other things I could do. Yeah. But then this happened. And I remember feeling as the Zoom went on, it was becoming more and more important, to me. Yeah. And I got off and I walked into to my husband's office, and I burst into tears. And he said, wow, I haven't seen you ever. And I said, that really mattered. And then I didn't hear for weeks and weeks.
Then you're thinking Brad Pitt doesn't like me.
I was just going, so I realized, okay, well, that was the most extraordinary acting experience working with Sarah. Because we worked the whole script. Oh,
really?
Oh, yeah, we worked.
That was done in those 2 hours, going, oh, wow.
Every word.
Oh, wow.
Much discussion, every word. Wow. And her worry was that I was too young. And so anyway, all that being said, I finally just reached out to the casting director and said, thank you. Please thank Sarah for that incredible 2-hour experience. And he emailed me right back and he went, oh no, you got the part. We just have to pin you. And I'm going, do you have any idea what that's like for an actor to wait for all those weeks? Because crazy. Listen, I've been doing this for a long time. My very, very first screen test was with Kevin Costner for Field of Dreams. Wow. What a way to start. And, didn't get the part. And that's the 3 a.m. wake up going,
Right.
what if? So,
Right.
I mean, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and
So when you heard that, you're like, that must have been very exciting.
well, then I heard the cast, and then I was like, what? So it really was, I mean, shooting that movie was like being at the Olympics every single day.
Right.
It
It's the
was-
acting Olympics.
It was the acting Olympics. Sarah, the bar was so high. She is so unrelenting in the nicest way, and so firm about what she wants, and guided us, and was, you know, the queen.
So was there, because it was so much takes and almost felt like theater from what you guys are saying, was there rehearsal before you even got to the set?
We Zoom rehearsed for a whole week. You know, in our little boxes, which was, you know, sort of frustrating, but and because we couldn't physically be there in the space, it led to a lot of discussion about the script. And then we rehearsed in the hayloft for a whole week.
Wow.
Masked up. We had a 2-week rehearsal period.
Wow.
Before we started shooting.
That's great.
So we blocked things out, which for me, again, from my background, love, props, movement, love that.
Yes.
And so that's very rare. And I think that also the really rare thing about this experience was usually in movies, like, you know, I did Die Hard 2. You go in for a day and then you leave for a month and then you go in for a day. Yeah. This was every day, all day long. Every day, all day long for 3 months. Actors never get that.
It's just incredible.
It is.
So was it daunting though, because of how much the camera had to be kind of the center of things? Meaning, like, it's not even though it felt like a theater as much as a film could be, was it daunting to have to do take after take for the camera? Like when you're off camera, people are need to be so like somebody said Claire had to do 100 and some takes of this daunting.
Yeah, and
monologue.
Because the bar had been set so high, everybody gave 150% even off camera. There was no phoning it in off camera. There were no, I remember one day after like 2.5 days, I said to Sarah, can we do a pickup? Like, do we have to do the whole thing? And she went, why have I not been doing pickups? I said, well, good luck to you in editing, because you have like 7,000 miles of film.
Yeah.
But no, it was whole scenes all the time. And, you know, the daunting thing for me was, I mean, I felt like working with people like Claire and Jessie and Judith Ivey. I mean, it was masterclass every day. And there was an expectation that I put on myself as an actor to be there every day. And so I mean, I would go home after 14 hours and just put on, you know, junk TV and eat junk food and just like didn't want to talk to anybody. And yeah, in a way, COVID and the world of COVID kind of, even though it was so isolating for everybody, it kept us in that bubble too. It's not a bad thing.
Right. Were there some people that were taking to this style of filming worse than others? Meaning, like, you know, I don't need you to name names. I'm just wondering if like other people had to hold some cast members up, kind of, because they're not used to this kind of thing.
Somehow not.
That's amazing.
Not. I mean, it was just it's right from the first Zoom. We knew that this was going to be a game every day, all day, and a real lack of any of that. I've been on many sets when, you know, there's been much eye rolling and you know, I'll be in my trailer.
Yeah.
None of that. And we were all living together in one room. None of us went back to our trailers.
Wow.
We had like the partitions and
Wow.
and we were all living in a room. It was a commune.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, for the two little ones, for Liv and Kate, whose this was their first experience. I can't even imagine.
It's all downhill.
Well, I know. I said to Kate,
meaning in terms of experiences.
Kate just finished high school and she's trying to get a job at Cineplex in Edmonton, where she lives, so that when the movie opens, she can tear tickets. And I'm going, oh my God, this is ridiculous. You know.
Yeah.
But there you go. Like, none of us will have an experience. Like, I didn't expect to have an experience like this, and at this point in my career to have had this experience, I'm the luckiest actor in the world.
It's amazing.
And yet it was the hardest thing I'd ever done.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarah said something that I'm going to be thinking about a lot in the press conference, and I want to just get your opinion on it. Like, I'm not sure I agree with it. Like, I want to agree with it. I want it to be true. She said that, I'm paraphrasing, the experience of the people in the film or on the set, I'm assuming she means everyone, is more important to her than the final output. I never ever believed this. I think I was this person who believed, if you have to die a little bit, at least we have the film. If this friendship ends, but we made the film. Like, if we have to hurt, we have the film. I want to believe that. Like, I feel like this is new. I feel like I want to believe that it actually, if you believe that, it actually does help the output.
I honestly believe that she woke up every morning before she came to set and reiterated to herself that that's what she needed to do today. And she did it. Now, there's no sentimentality in this. There's no, she is a powerhouse director.
Yes.
She, listens to everybody and is so egalitarian, for sure, but it is her movie.
That's what you need.
And totally.
Yeah.
And I think that had she not been that way, had she been, sort of slightly more whimsical and more, I love that there was, she's a steel magnolia. And so she garnered respect from everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that is how she got through it.
Yeah.
By having, she had our ear, she had our respect. You heard it. I mean, and the result is this incredibly epic piece of work that, no one worked harder on it than her.
Yeah.
She's just relentless. And yet in this really kind, ordinary, goofy way,
Yeah.
It's a very rare combination.
Right. And I bet you that combination is really like the sweet spot, right?
Yeah. Well, it is a sweet spot, and because she's an extraordinarily ordinary person. Like, it's incredible.
Right.
Like, the story I told about can I tell that story when my teeth?
I have it down.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, honestly, this tells, it's everything. I'm usually quite quiet with directors, and I just sort of bide my time. But she created such an arena of openness and safety net that the day after my rape scene, which is sitting on my bed and my teeth falling out because I've been hit in the mouth and just there's blood, the day after we shot it, I went up to her and I said, "Oh my God, that was a great scene yesterday. I wish I'd made my bed." And it was it wasn't off the cuff, like I really meant it, because that's what Greta would have done. And Sarah actually hit herself on the head and said, "Oh my God, how could I forget that?" And then literally 2.5 months later, on the very last day, when Sarah and I were the last people shooting and the movie was about to wrap, she came into our big dressing room and she said, "Do you want to make your bed?" And the production designer had put the set back together. The crew were all there. We walked out on set. Sarah turned to the crew and she said, "We're redoing this scene for Sheila. This was her idea, and it's an incredible idea. And we're just going to do her rape scene again, and she's going to make her bed." So we did that scene, and everybody was totally on board. And Sarah and I walked out into the big, huge space where the barn was, and there were 200 Canadian crew applauding.
Wow.
And I turned to Sarah and I said, that's the Oscar right there.
Yeah.
Because we're both Canadian and we've both had long careers, but, you know, we've stayed in Canada and we've, you know, worked tons and all that. But to be honored by our own in that moment was the most extraordinary moment I've ever had in my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It says so much about her too. And, you know, and she said after you told that story, the press screening, she said, well, it was a good idea. You know? I mean, and that just says everything about her, right?
I know. That's what I mean. She's so like, yeah, we could do that. You know what I mean? And I know inside there's this, you know, machine going on in her head that is just crazy, you know, in overdrive.
Yeah.
But
how much does it matter too that she was, and I'm assuming still is, an actor?
You know, it's so funny because for the first time when we were shooting, we were talking one day and I said, does this make you want to act again? She said, it sure does.
Yeah.
She said, I'm just watching this going, I want to. Now, that's very different than actually, you know, doing it. But she's a crazy great actress. So, I mean, it would be a shame if she didn't.
That's right.
But, you know, you direct, I mean, I direct plays and stuff, and it's such a different hat. And there's such a lack of self-consciousness when one is directing. It's not about you, it's about this that I love, and I know Sarah loves. So, you know, whether or not she wants to get all worried about acting again, carrying that script around, who knows?
What does an experience like this do for that hat that you would wear? You know what I mean? The directing hat, or even the teaching hat.
Well, you know, it's interesting because when I'm teaching, I'm working on an audition class for musical theater right now, and they come in just full of nerves. And I really love delving into that world of stage fright and nerves because I've experienced it. I know it firsthand. I've dealt with it tons, and it can be a good thing. And because the wonderful Brent Carver, who was here, won the Tony Award for Kiss of the Spider Woman. It was a dear friend of mine. He said to me once, you know, Sheila, nerves is just talent trying to get out.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that great?
Oh my God.
But we walk that line all the time of vulnerability and being afraid to make mistakes and being perfect and you know, getting through it. So I spend a lot of time with students talking about this because I think it's really important, and I think it can be, it can cripple people, you know, and it can really, you know, fear is an interesting thing in all walks of life, and yet it can be fuel too. So, you know, working on an experience like this, I mean, I was nervous every day. I was, you know, not to the point of, you know, not being able to do it, but I just, you know, I geared up every day, you know.
Right.
It's so much easier to talk to an actor about it who's experiencing it than sometimes when you're inside it yourself.
Right, right.
Don't you think?
Yes. Eugene Hernandez, in the press conference, he was the moderator of the, he said, he quoted a quote from Fran McDormand, and I wanted to just get to talk to you about it because I thought, well, the quote is, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, this is not about taking down the patriarchy, it's about realizing there was an amazing matriarchy that's been there all this time. When he said that, I thought, I mean, I got kind of mad. I'm like, I just watched this movie. This has to be about taking down the patriarchy. And I'm glad Sarah said, actually, I'm interested in taking down. I wanted to be like, Eugene, didn't you just watch this? And I don't know, I mean, I guess Fran is trying to be diplomatic maybe about this, but I feel like...
doesn't want to male bash it. It's not just male bashing.
Right.
Because I think that's too simplistic.
That is simplistic, but this was a very non-simplistic approach to this, which I appreciated. And it's about having to get out of the system. You know what I mean? And start a new system. And that's what this is about.
I think, my sort of, I sort of need years to really think about this and answer it properly. But I think what I believe is the focus is on the collective of women coming together, speaking about these heinous crimes for the very first time, and by the power of the collective of the women in the hayloft, coming to decisions to make change in their life that leaves you with hope.
Yes.
And I think the collective of a matriarchy coming together and doing that, and with love and hope and change is what we want the focus to be, as opposed to aren't men evil.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
Point,
and I think that's why Sarah didn't show the rape. She didn't show the face. She just showed the innocent boys. She just showed what could be. And August, Ben Wishaw's, and I think that is what we want everyone to take away from this movie. Yeah. Because we know that. Yeah. We know, and if there's one thing I want people to take away from the movie is to start dialogue. If you're in pain or you're hurting, you know somebody. If you're a man or a woman or non-binary or whatever, share your story with somebody. Talk to somebody. That always helps. And to me, I know that sounds really simplistic, but I really think that that's my takeaway from the movie.
And that's why it's amazing it's called Women Talking.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's the radical.
It could not be called anything else. And I know my husband likes to joke. He says, "Yeah, the tomatoes are talking, and they talk and they talk." And I go, "But it's a very clear title.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't make it boring, or it doesn't make it. We
were
all afraid.
Radical.
We actually were all afraid of that in the first few Zooms. We were going, "Oh my God, is this going to be like? Is this just going to be us talking? How can this possibly be cinematically interesting for 2 hours?" Guess what?
Yep.
Kind of is.
It is, and it's not only that. I felt like a privilege to be able to watch it. That happens rare. Like sometimes I like something, but sometimes I feel like privileged. When the last time I felt this kind of was, I don't know if you saw the movie Diane.
No, I never saw that.
With Mary Kay Place.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, you need to see this.
Okay.
There's a scene with all these elderly women talking around the table, and the men are kind of standing on the sides. And I felt that there. I felt like this is the privilege to see these older actors being able to just be the center of a scene.
Yeah.
It's not just that I liked it. I felt like this is an honor. Yeah. Kind of. I felt that way here.
Oh, that's
really true.
I will watch that for sure. I love her.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be so fantastic if at some point this isn't an anomaly, that it's just because, we are interesting people in it. And I love the audience being a fly in the wall, hearing conversations that they never thought they would be hearing.
Yes. Yes, big time. I want that. I don't just want that because it's good for a person to want that. I want that because it's good. Yeah. you know what I mean? That I want it selfishly.
Yeah, and that you sort of forget the ages or the the whatever it is. It's just the conversation is interesting.
Yes. Speaking of people not going into their trailer when the coverage is on the other person, which has been a recurring kind of thing on the show, just talking about this every once in a while. I would love you to tell the story of Liza Minnelli. Can you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I did a movie called Stepping Out with Liza many years ago, and we've remained really good friends. And there, I played Andy, an abused wife, interestingly enough, who decides to take tap dance lessons with Liza, but can't tell her husband because he'll belittle her. So through the course of events, he finds out that I'm taking tap dance lessons. And over breakfast one day, he says, "You are? Get up and show me. Tap, dance." And then bursts into tears as I'm tap dancing. And it was, one of those scenes as an actor that I thought,
in the script
okay,
it says
burst into tears. Here we go. And Liza came in on her day off, and I didn't know. And as the cameras rolled, her little face peeked around the corner of the camera, and those big bovine brown eyes looked at me, and she just whispered, "It's okay."
Wow.
And she gave me permission. And I could cry just thinking about that moment. And Liza's face is always there beside the camera for me when I have to do those moments on camera. And she did it every single time, and it worked every single time. Wow. And I am forever in her debt. And it was just this amazing, intuitive thing that she knew that I might need some help. And she was there. When we cry, it's not that we want to cry.
Right.
We're generally trying not to
That's
cry.
right.
And so when someone gives you permission, or somebody, it's an act of kindness is what, you're at a funeral and someone hugs you, like, forget it, don't hug, don't come too close. I don't want to do that. So the contradictions in the human behavior is what acting, it's what you have to get to as an actor.
Yes.
So that was what that day was all about for me.
And just the idea of a fellow cast member being that support system for you.
Yep.
And I'm sure you felt it on this movie too. But this is just, I want to hear more stories like this.
Laura Linney did it one day. I was in Tales of the City. She came in on her day off, and I had a phone call where I had to break down, and it was her voice. And Laura Linney, Queen, came in, and I said, "You don't have to be here." And she went, "Of course I am here." Like,
yes.
I
want the actors listening to think, I want somebody telling this story about me one day. Mm-hmm. And I want to be that support. That's what I want, instead of like whatever you're going to be doing in your trailer.
I'm going to tell, can I have time for one more
Yes.
story? This is a Die Hard 2 story. I got cast as Sam Coleman, WNDW News, their news reporter in Die Hard. And, it was a fine part, but I had just won the Canadian Academy Award for a movie called I've Heard The Mermaids Singing, and I got Die Hard 2, and I thought, okay, well, that's great. I'm paying my dues in America.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Willis had casting approval. So he flew me in a private plane to New York to meet him. Oh. And I had very good friends who were very good friends of his. And I said, "I know your friends, Martha and Tom, they're really good friends." And he shut down. Oh. And it was a really horrible, because I thought, oh my God, I get to meet Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
No casting people, no producers, no directors. What could be easier in his penthouse? Great. Yeah. And it was a terrible meeting. Wow. And I flew back to Canada, and the part was taken out of the movie.
Wow.
So I waited for 3 days, and then I got really mad, and I wrote a letter to Bruce Willis, to his hotel, never really thinking that he might get the letter.
Yeah. It was almost therapeutic for you, though, to write
yes.
it.
I just saw, and I said, "Dear Mr. Willis, somebody gave you a really big break when you did Moonlighting, and this part couldn't possibly mean anything to you, and it would mean a lot to me. But if you would put the part back in the movie, I would be so appreciative." I wish I had a copy of the letter. "Warmest regards, Sheila McCarthy." And he put the part back in the movie, and I got it. Wow. And the only thing he ever said to me, ever, was, "I got your fucking letter."
Wow.
Isn't that a great story? So, I've written a lot of letters.
Yes, letters work.
Over my career. And they've had sometimes a good effect and sometimes not. But my lesson there was, do not cop familiarity. My husband would say, "Well, are you expecting him to be your new best friend? Just do your job and go home." And I did. I copped. Probably that was not a good idea.
Yeah. But you certainly can't beat yourself up about that, because that's what normal people appreciate.
Well, yes, I suppose. But, I just was thereafter, slightly more respectful. And, with the movie stars.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So you mentioned at the beginning this idea that the pandemic made you think, I kind of like this idea of not having a script next to my pillow.
Yeah.
Did this experience with women talking make you want to have more scripts that you're sleeping on top of?
Yes, she said in a terrified way. Yes, of course. Yes. Of course. I mean, it's who I am. It's what I do. I could tell you that I am more comfortable directing now. True. But I actually think that acting needs to put you in an uncomfortable state. Right. That's part of it. So, of course. You know, I could also say, Andrea Martin's a good friend of mine, and we're always saying, we just like to get the job. We don't actually want to do it. The highlight is you got it. Now you have to do it. So I fight it tooth and nail. But would I have it any other way? Probably not. It's just the process, right? So, sure, of course. With my boots on.
Sheila McCarthy, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.